The theme of the day was which team was going to grab that number 4 slot in North America. These two teams, they don't have to worry about that. What do they have to worry about? Being the number 1 team in the region. No matter how many points that you do get, it is not only going to matter to get to LAN. LAN is important because that's going to be not only a place where you can grab quite a few bucks, but also it is going to be the place where you can get that initial berth into the finals for the year. If you win the LAN, you know that you are going to the finals for the year. But these points are cumulative for the entire year. So if we see another good run here from a team like Method Orange that did have a slow start to the year, or we see that continued dominance from Super Frogs, they can set themselves up so even if they don't win a LAN or come in first or second place in the second LAN, they can still go to those finals. Let's see these two top teams go head to head. The gates are now open.
Where have we seen this composition before?
That's true. And maybe that is the matchup that M2KC really wanted into the Super Frogs. Maybe the Super Frogs was looking to set up this Frost Mage Destruction Warlock Restoration Druid. And M2KC, Method Orange, they do have a solid answer. I could definitely see this working.
All right, let's see how they can play it out. Sam I Am finally being utilized here. We didn't even see him on the top 3 compositions played by Method Orange on their stats page. So potentially an opportunity for Sam I Am to come in clutch for the team of Method Orange. Decent aggression on Wealthy Man early on as Iron Bark has faded. The defense is no longer there, but Sam I Am has been pulled into center field, and Sea-Doo looks to deny a kill there by dropping there the wall to him. Nice Death Grip into Psychic Scream. It's not very often we see the Death Knight paired with the Shadow Priest, but the Death Grip to pull opponents close to the Shadow Priest for crowd control is definitely a deadly strategy. We see a bit of cooldown overlap early on from the team of Method Orange in exchange for Channel's Infernals, with having committed the Anti-Magic Zone and the Dispersion. This is a mistake that we saw from the Mew Mew Kitty Cats as well when facing the Super Frogs, so I'm curious to see if the Frogs can look to punish.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see, and this is the problem. Look at Chanimal. In this matchup, he's just doing whatever he wants, and that is not the best situation for Method Orange. They're trying to pressure down Wealthy Man, take advantage of the fact that Sam I Am can spam Dispel on that Shadow Priest with some of the recent changes to the mana reduction, but if you just let Chanimal do whatever he wants, look at him, just Chaos Bolt into Mortal Coil. Sam I Am getting low. He trinkets out, fades. What is Sea-Doo going to do? There's the Polymorph looking for the Spear Link, does manage to find it. But things are looking really good here for the Super Frogs.
Cooldowns one by one begin to fall for Method Orange. Sam I Am tagged in and not looking too hot here in game number 1 as the Super Frogs have complete control. Method Orange now pinned down at the pillar, looking to stall as long as possible for vital defensive cooldowns, such as the Dispersion available in 17 seconds. But of course, Chanimal does not want to allow that stall to happen, dropping a Demonic Gateway, denying the Death Grip of Mez, able to escape to safety. I would like to see Wealthy Man and Chanimal split up. Having both of them on one side of the pillar allows Method Orange to easily swing around to the other, but if they split up, they don't have that option. Cubsy also running the Feral Affinity, adding in a bit of extra damage onto Mez as he overextends. Mez basically being a damage sponge for his team here in center field, which is all in good before dampening, but mana is full on Cubsy, and if you can't start taxing that down and dampening gets too high, then Mez can't tank as much damage as he is currently, and inevitably the Super Frogs hold this position. They're likely to take game number 1.
Yeah, Sam I Am has his defensive cooldowns rotated back up, so he needs to play a little bit more aggressive in this matchup like we kind of talked about. Mez, he can be a damage soak for the time being, but as the game goes on a little bit later, he no longer really has that option on the Death Knight. Wealthy Man and Chanimal should be able to easily deflect his attacks. Cubsy, a little bit earlier on, sat down for a drink, and when you see Method Orange run and hide behind the pillar, that's a perfect opportunity for the Super Frogs to sort of turret up in center field, allow Cubsy to sneak away, get out of combat, drink, and regenerate his mana. I think that's going to be really important for the Super Frogs. And if Method Orange want to maintain a mana lead in this matchup, they need to make sure that Cubsy's never able to get that comfortable.
Sam I Am makes a push. They get Cubsy's Gliders Medallion, but now they're overextended, and Cubsy is dishing out a ton of extra damage, potentially enough to crack through the Dispersion of Sam I Am. Sam I Am feared off, trying to deny the Void Shift if possible. Sea-Doo reconvenes around the corner, able to line of sight potential interrupts and start to stabilize Sam I Am, but his mana is not looking good. Cubsy is easily relaxing on the other side of the pillar, drinking back to full mana himself. Now, with the next push, basically everything pivots around Sam-I-Am's silence, which is now available should they recover to be able to actually initiate an attack. The silence is very important. You'll see a Psychic Horror into a silence, into a Psychic Scream, and that combination of crowd control from the Shadow Priest with Void Form boosting his damage is when we want to see Method Orange get aggressive. So they jump into Void Form. This could be an opportunity to push for crowd control, but they're on the back foot as Sea-Doo got caught in a Polymorph. Chanimal looks to follow up, potentially with Fears, denied for now by Mez. Sam-I-Am goes for that Psychic Horror as Cubsy overextended to try and add some extra damage. Now as he's overextended, he's susceptible to crowd control. Still not enough to really hammer down too much pressure. I'm curious if the strategy for Method Orange is to try and just do these crowd control setups, burn as many cooldowns as they can, save Sea-Doo's mana until deeper into dampening, and then go for an all-in Purge tactic with both the Shadow Priest and the Shaman bringing Purge and try and overwhelm the team of the Super Frogs. This could be potential for them as a strategy, but so far Cubsy is keeping a level head for the late game, constantly looking to get drinks and regenerate mana back to full so that if that situation happens, he can go one-on-one with that exchange. Infernals have landed, and Chanimal looks to ramp.
Yeah, definitely Chanimal looking for some damage, and once again, Method Orange in full retreat. Behind the pillar, Wealthy Man dropping a Blizzard, dropping a Frozen Orb, just really tearing in and taxing Sea-Doo's mana quite a bit. Cubsy, once again, getting comfortable, getting in stealth, getting in cat form. He's sitting down for a drink. Super Frog's going straight to full mana. That's going to give them a massive lead. Mez looking to shut that down. I believe he did do so with the Death and Decay, but I think Cubsy did manage to regenerate more than enough mana. Now full Polymorph secured on the Sea-Doo. Keep in mind, Sea-Doo's playing Relentless in this matchup, so he doesn't have the Gladiator's Medallion. Breakout of crowd control. All of this crowd control will sit full.
Crowd control push for the team of Method Orange looks solid. Once again, getting the Gladiator's Medallion. Potentially even more. Wealthy Man uses the Demonic Gateway to get to safety, and as dampening begins to ramp, Mez can't play out in center field as much as he is, or else risks his own life, which is likely to be the main target for the Super Frogs. Cubsy trying to re-stealth maybe potentially if he can pull far enough away. They've left Chanimal open for most of this fight, even despite the recent reductions to Destruction Warlocks. Still quite potent against magic damage, which is effectively all of the damage that Method Orange have brought with this composition. Sam-I-Am looks for a Mass Dispel, managed to land it. That Shadow Fury 1 second too late, but they get the follow-up Polymorph, and Sam-I-Am still in trouble.
Yeah, definitely in a little trouble, but with Dispersion, should be able to keep himself alive. How greedy is he going to play it? There it is, the Mortal Coil, Dispersion forced out, Bash, Chaos Bolt, enough. Force Method Orange a little bit scared. Sam-I-Am feeling confident though. He's going to be moving in. Psychic Horror, potentially into a Psychic Scream, into a Silence, but where's the damage? Wealthy Man seeming to be fine. Finally, Void Eruption going to be used by Sam-I-Am, looking for some pressure. Wealthy Man responds with a Temporal Shield, immediately dispelled off by Sam-I-Am. Silence onto Cubsy, but he left a little gap in the crowd control, and that was enough time for Cubsy to get out the Iron Bark and keep Wealthy Man alive.
And starting to even out, at least for Method Orange. They've been having a difficult time with the Super Frogs in tournament play. This Destruction Warlock Frost Mage composition is one that they have not been able to find an answer, which is why they are attempting this composition in the first place. The Unholy Death Knight Shadow Priest trying to take advantage of some of the recent utility mana cost reductions to the Shadow Priest to try and allow some more offensive dispels and aggressive moves with that, but so far they really haven't been able to crack the code just yet here in game number 1, and as dampening gets higher and higher, Mez becomes more of a liability in this fight. I'm curious to see if they can take Wealthy Man down before that point in time. They managed to dispel off the Temporal Shield before he could get any effectiveness. Cubsy holding on to Iron Bark, waiting for crowd control. The one disadvantage of Sam-I-Am is that on the Shadow Priest, he moves so slowly across the field that his positioning is predictable, and Cubsy can see him coming and predict with Iron Bark right as he gets in range to crowd control. Cubsy jumping into the center of the starting area to sit down for a drink, and
oh, no.
Sam-I-Am's not able to find him or hit him with anything. The Death and Decay is 1 millimeter off hitting. Cubsy regenerates huge mana. Sea-Doo locked down in crowd control. Sam-I-Am in trouble. Mana throwaway, close call. Crowd control continues to follow through. Sam-I-Am disperses on low health, still locked down in center field. If there's an interrupt for Sea-Doo, 2 more seconds on Chanimal's spell lock. In the meantime, Sam-I-Am tries to counterattack, silencing up Cubsy, bursting down Wealthy Man, but now he's caught in center field. Infernals have entered the battle. If they don't deny Chanimal on these Chaos Bolts, I'm not sure if they're going to make it out alive.
Yeah, definitely. Sam-I-Am, Method Orange, Sea-Doo, Mez, they're all just tanking full damage. Anti-Magic Zone gets traded out by Mez. Keep Sam-I-Am alive. Once again, Wealthy Man looking for the Polymorph, finds it onto Sea-Doo into a full fear from Chanimal. Nice interrupt by Mez. Good backup to keep Sam I Am alive from that Chaos Bolt. But Chanimal looking for another. Manages to find one. Can he find another? Void Shift, actually not traded. That was a Spirit Totem. So Sam I Am still has that very important Void Shift. He can trade his hit points with someone else on his team at any moment. He needs to make sure you have his Gladiator's Medallion available to do that, as that is really the last line of defense for Method Orange.
All right, Mez and Sam I Am Sea-Doo all in center field. Not where you'd normally want to be when facing a Destruction Warlock, but they have to cross as Cubsy's constantly baiting to potentially sit down for a drink. Fortunately, Mez with decent pet control has that Ghoul chasing Cubsy around the map, and that should be enough to keep him in combat unless he can escape here and drop. He's looking to try and re-stealth. Not sure if the Ghoul is going to get there in time. Mana not looking too hot here for Method Orange. Cubsy in cat form. Chanimal just dishing out devastation, and Sam I Am in trouble. Has to make a decision. Fades the Chaos Bolt. Immunes its effect. Mez Wraith walks in to stop the drink. Gets feared off. Good denial by Chanimal. Huge damage on Sam I Am. Mez and Sam I Am just want to stop the drink, but they push in, and they don't manage to do it, and they trade defense to accomplish effectively nothing, putting them so far behind.
Yeah, 30% dampening, though. The Shadow Priest Death Knight damage might be huge. Cubsy needs to maintain his mana. Sam I Am's going to be able to use a lot of offensive dispels with the Dispel Magic on that Shadow Priest. And if he can do so later on in dampening with the added damage of that Unholy Death Knight, I could easily see Chanimal falling. Maybe Method Orange is playing to their win condition. They just have to wait for a little bit longer in the game, because it is going to be eventually difficult for Chanimal to escape Mez on that Death Knight with Chains of Ice, with Death Grip. And I could see the pressure sort of snowballing out of control in favor of Method Orange.
Cubsy uses that Gladiator's Medallion onto that crowd control chain. Caught on the back end of a silence, but definitely not long enough to accomplish too much here for Method Orange. Sam I Am fades another Chaos Bolt, immuning its damage. Good reaction time, but dampening is ramping up so high, it's going to be difficult for Sea-Doo to recover. He's got basically no mana left, and Mez just got feared into midfield by Chanimal. That could set up the team of Super Frogs to try and just destroy him. Sea-Doo repositions, catches a healing wave over onto Mez, but he's very far overextended. Sea-Doo trying to reposition. Not much defense, really. Actually, there's enough for Mez to survive. He's trying to stay aggressive with it. The pet control has been a little bit off from Mez, as Cubsy's been able to sneak away quite frequently in cat form. I would definitely like to see Cubsy kept in combat better moving forward if this is the composition that Method Orange want to utilize for the rest of the series. Chanimal secures a Shadow Fury onto two members. Mez gets bursted down, and that 40% magic number for Death Knights is all but imminent. They have a significant mana lead, and it's looking better for the Super Frogs.
Yeah, interrupt on Sea-Doo. Mez caught in center field. One Maledict lands from Cubsy, just spamming Solar Wrath. All three members of Super Frogs just teeing off on Mez. What is he going to do? There's a full bash. Mez trying to stay alive with the Icebound Fortitude. He has the Anti-Magic Zone as well. Void Shift still in Sam I Am's back pocket if he needs it. Mez catches a few heals, but this is the point in the game where Method Orange, they can't retreat. They need to start finding some pressure. Polymorph on Sea-Doo, another one found. Silence now on Cubsy as they're looking to turn it around onto Chanimal, but Mez just has to play way too defensive.
Chaos Bolt gets grounded. Anti-Magic Zone denies some of the follow-up damage as well. Another Chaos Bolt flying in, straight towards Sam I Am. Huge hit, connects. Sea-Doo has to recover three members of the team, but with Ascendance, he should be able to do so, unless a cheeky blink counterspell or something, not available for either Chanimal or Weltman. Sea-Doo should be able to recover. Struggling, though, because dampening is just so high at this point, with 44% now entering the battle. Icy Veins available for Wealthy Man in less than a minute. Another Polymorph secured. Where's the Master Spell? Sam I Am not going for it, instead trying to get aggressive, a bit of an overextension. Cubsy jumps away from the crowd control chain. Chanimal still gets bursted.
Chanimal in trouble.
Iron Bark starts to stabilize him, but Mez is really chopping him up. Sam I Am falling behind as well amidst all of this. Grounding Totem available for Sea-Doo. He drops the Spirit Link Totem to try and get his team to make a push, but I'm not sure that they have the damage to push him over.
If they can't kill Chanimal here, I don't think they're ever going to kill him. So we're at 50% dampening. What is Sam I Am going to do? Grip into Asphyxiate, into a Fear onto Cubsy. Heat Shrink gets out into a Silence. Chanimal still just so healthy in this matchup, holding on to Unending Resolve. Sam I Am forcing Dispersion, things spiraling out of control for Method Orange. Sea-Doo in a Polymorph. Mez caught in center field as Chanimal looks for a Chaos Bolt. Wealthy Man just free casting this entire game on this Frost Mage. And I really don't know if Sea-Doo's going to be able to keep Mez healthy. He has the Anti-Magic Shell, but it's not going to be doing too much at 50% dampening.
All right, Mez, how much longer can you hold on? Sea-Doo totally taps Sam I Am low as well. There's pressure on Cubsy, but he's positioned far away from the fight. Sam I Am's getting bursted. Sea-Doo doesn't have much to work with. Two members below 10%. If they Void Shift, then Sea-Doo could die. trying to catch a couple of Shadow Mens, but they need to stop Cubsy from drinking. They basically got them a checkmate. They're stacked up in a triple frozen orb. Earthen Wall Totem appears to be enough for now, but still no recovery for 1 more second. Sam.IAM's Vampiric Embrace, if he can combine that with Void Form, could be enough for his team to stabilize in the fight, create maybe one more opportunity for a push. They drop the Abomination. They go all out on Chanimal. Cubsy denies it with Iron Bark. Wealthy Man, realizing the danger, starts polymorphing Mez. Chanimal now looks to counter-aggress with that Dark Soul. Let's see if it's enough. Mez denies the kill with the anti-magic zone. This needs to be enough defense. They cannot afford to overlap. They are somewhat developing pressure on Chanimal. If Method Orange can somehow stall and keep this game going just a tad bit longer, they may have potential, but no. Huge Chaos Ball connects. No Void Shift. Throwaway on Sam.IAM's part, but this composition at least showed more pressure than anything else we've seen from the Method Orange repertoire so far when facing the Super Frogs.
Also, with Method Orange, what was the biggest thing that we even said yesterday before we saw them? This team, if they want to do well at LAN, they need to figure out a way to use Sam. They need to figure out a way to use Sam.IAM. They're trying it now. They're going to try to get that done before they actually are playing up on that stage. And the question is, Zico, do we want to see more of this composition?
I feel like 1 game sample size isn't that much to base things off of. We don't even know, did they want to go against this? Did they want to go against the Roguelike Druid? I'm going to go ahead and guess that the Method Orange wanted to play against the Mage Lock Druid, but still, it didn't look great. They still had the Void Shift to work with here, but other than that, City was tapped. Mez had no more defense, and on the side of Super Frogs, they were allowed to basically go and drink whenever they wanted, so I'm not really sure. It didn't really feel like they got to that point where they could actually confidently pressure down Chanimal. They never really even forced his Unending Resolve. The only attempts that we saw that forced out cooldowns were a couple of grip into Psychic Screams from Mez and from Sam. So I like that they're trying to incorporate Sam.IAM, but I'm not sure if this is the answer that they're looking for.
So we talk about utility being a big thing now that we have some changes and they're a little bit more cost effective. So Venruki, we have Sam.IAM with 122 dispels in that game, and Sidu with 97 production just told me. So we're really starting to see why this comp can work in this particular meta.
I mean, that's a lot of dispels, but at the end of the day, they didn't get a single unending resolve, even at almost 60% dampening. So the problem is with this composition, to me, is what I see going on is Sam.IAM, he's getting a lot of dispels off, sure, but they don't have mortal wounds effects, and you kind of need that to take down a destruction warlock, at least early on. Cubsy's just sitting back, casting as much as he wants to basically keep his teammates alive, and Sam.IAM, anytime he goes for offensive push, he just gets interrupted. There's a spell lock, there's fear spam, there's polymorph spam, there's a counter spell. Every single one of his vampiric touches is just getting shut down, so he's denying some healing from Cubsy, but it just doesn't seem to be enough. They need to find more damage.
200 dispels, over 200 dispels, and like you said, not one unending resolve. Supatees, this is something that Ven actually mentioned to us even during the break when we saw the comp for the first time when the Mew Mew Kitty Cats were playing. It's like, where's the MS? Do you think that that's going to be the problem with this composition?
I mean, they could try Windwalker, Shadow Priest, but even then, we've seen Super Frog stall out melee DPS for a huge amount of time just by crowd controlling them and avoiding them, and then eventually bursting them down later into the game. So it doesn't appear to be the case, and due to the classes that we know Method Orange have played, they can't exactly Wizard Cleave Mirror the Super Frogs either, so it's not 100% certain in my mind that Method Orange even have an answer to this composition here today.
Yeah, and this is going to be a problem at LAN potentially as well.
Well, let's just say the one thing I think that Method Orange could do is bring it to a small map. I mean, the real problem was Cubsy sitting away for a drink. So, like we kind of talked about, Sam.IAM, CD throwing out a lot of defensive dispels. The one thing that sort of nullified that was the fact that Cubsy was always able to run away. He was consistently able to drink. I think if we go to Dalaran Sewers, we see the exact same matchup. It's going to be completely different. I don't think Cubsy will be able to escape for drinks. And we saw him falling behind very early on. And if Method Orange can stay on target, keep up those dispels, deny the drinks, I can see a win condition for them, but on the larger maps, it just seems way too difficult for them to actually get the control they need. Like we talked about, all three members are so susceptible. You have Wealthy Man, you have Chanimal posted up in midfield. One's a polymorph machine, one's a fear machine, and you have to get through those two things, that gauntlet, in order to actually deny some of the drinks from Cubsy, and Method Orange on the Grand Arena was not able to do that.
Do you agree that map size is going to be important here, Zico?
Yeah, I think that the map size for sure is important, but even on smaller maps, I feel like they might not necessarily have the advantage that they're looking for. And also, you can argue that on smaller maps, some of their cleaves that they're running would also be a lot more effective. So I think smaller maps in general favor what Method Orange are running when they're up against these wizards. But yeah, I agree. I think the smaller map could potentially help them out, at least winning a game.
I mean, I'm not convinced. I just think that it's something that could potentially go in their favor. I haven't seen enough from this composition. I don't think any of us have to really say if it's good or bad, but Method Orange seems to be putting a lot on the line with it.
You know, honestly, based off of what we've seen so far today, we'd probably say it's bad, right? But I think that Zico has brought up a very important thing, which is the sample size. It's a little bit weird. We see two different teams play it. We see the way that those matchups play out. But we need more data. We do need more data. There's obviously a reason that the teams are bringing it now. A small map going to be broken out very early, like Ben suggested. Maybe they are setting up to bring this composition again. Maybe they want Super Frogs to think that they're bringing this composition, Super T's, and then they actually go for one of those melee cleaves.
I mean, we could see a blind lock rogue warlock from Super Frogs 2 on a small map.
Yeah.
Nope, they're just going to keep playing the same thing. I mean, it's definitely their best option. Method Orange haven't really shown that they've got an answer, although on hook point they should be able to stop Cubsy from drinking, which was a huge issue. I mean, he got 2 big drinks in that last game. If he didn't have, maybe he's out of mana, and then potentially their damage does overwhelm him with the 200 dispels. So we could see Method Orange swing this back, but because they lost a blind pick, that means if we do go to Game 5, Super Frogs will be able to go to the largest maps in the pools to make sure that Cubsy can drink. But they're not even going with that composition. They're actually having Trill come back in on the Demon Hunter. Similar idea, although I'm not sure if I like the Demon Hunter more than the Shadow Priest.
Why do you think that the Shadow Priest may be better?
We've seen this played out. Trill just gets crowd controlled for huge amounts of time in the game. He overextends, gets Frost Nova, Polymorph 3 times, Feared 3 times. Cubsy just walks away. And then Mana Rift isn't that effective. Whereas at least on the Shadow Priest, you sit back at the Pillar of Sidu and just spam Dispel, and then Rejuvenate costs more than Dispel, and you can run the Druid out of mana just by exchanging like that. So I think I may have wanted to see the Shadow Priest played on a small map before going back to this.
This is the composition, though, that they do seem to be most at home on. Melee Cleaves definitely seeming like the place that Method Orange likes to hang out. Why do you think they switched back with hook point?
I think it's comfort, and I think it also shows that they didn't have that much confidence in the Shadow Priest DK that they played. I would have liked to see it one more game on a small map just to see how it works out, because like you mentioned, we've already seen this matchup, so it hasn't been that great for Method Orange in the past, and I think that most of the times we've seen it, it's been on larger maps where Trill just has been nullified completely, but I still think the same kind of logic applies here. We're going to see Trill crowd controlled heavily, and then when they don't have CC diminishing returns for him, they're going to probably focus him as well just to make it extra annoying for him.
Yeah, I think we're going to see pretty quickly here whether that composition that we see in the blind pick is something that they just aren't confident in at all as we do move further throughout this series. If they do bring it back, maybe they use it once, they see it, and they just go, okay, maybe we'll try it a little bit later, but it's not going to be in cups this season. This is the final cup, and this could be the final series for either of these teams as an elimination match between Super Frogs and Method Orange.
All right, here we go. Elimination match. Obviously, Method Orange, there's still a lot on the line in terms of their ability to accumulate a lot of points. So there's multiple ways to qualify to the World Finals at the end of the year. You can win one of the LAN events, which Method Orange have qualified for, or you can accumulate the most amount of points, which you get by winning these cups. So if Method Orange fall out here, they fall out very early on. They'll lose out on even further opportunities to get points. The boys in the Super Frogs will continue leaping ahead of them, and should they need to rely on points to qualify, that will then no longer be an option. So it's very important for Method Orange to not lose this series here today, even though they've already qualified for spring finals.
Yeah, Wealthy Man under fire early on. Iron Bark is tossed out by Cubsy to keep him alive. Innervate as well wants to get out additional healing without taxing his mana too much. Sidu caught into the fear, and actually Sidu, he's been throwing in a lot of purges in this matchup so far. Now caught into a fear, and potentially Mez and Trill, if they can just stick on to Wealthy Man with the added purges from Sidu, maybe they can cut through some of those defensives. You can see Cubsy already sitting in cap form, looking for potential re-stealth, but no, Trill all over him, denies that. Cubsy's mana still looking good. I just am curious, who is Method Orange going to be going after?
It looks like Wealthy Man for now is the target as Trill's playing Rain from Above Honor talent. Not the most effective, and he can also be attacked by both Chanimal and Wealthy Man while he's in the sky, and I'm curious if he's going to get blasted mid-air later in the game. Cubsy's just going to be running away looking for drinks constantly to distract his opponents, but they don't fall for the distraction. Instead, they just go for a big push and net themselves an ice block. Nice moves from Method Orange.
Is Trill even playing Mana Rift? I think he may have actually dropped it, and Method Orange, they're changing up their game plan. Instead of Trill chasing down Cubsy, we'll definitely have to see if we see any Mana Rifts, but I think it could be intelligent. Play Rain from Above, it's just added damage. It's free damage that you get. It's unavoidable from Wealthy Man. Guess what? You're caught in a Frost Nova, you go up in the sky, you shoot these Chaos Bolts on Wealthy Man, he's not going to be able to kite those, so I think it's smart from Method Orange, and if they can make that offensive push, they've already cut through one ice block from Wealthy Man, and Cubsy's mana is not doing great.
No, it certainly is not, and then on hook point, they should be able to deny him from drinking. Potentially, Method Orange could pull this off. They've got a good lead, but Cubsy far away from the fight, sitting down for a drink. Where's the pet control? Was he able to Shadow Meld? In the meantime, Mez is in trouble. Barely getting that reverse magic polymorph. Cubsy's likely going back to full mana, although maybe exchange for an ice block. Rain from Above. Trill trying to add in some extra damage. Huge pressure. Can they get an ice block? Temporal Shield bounces back. Iron Bark appears to be enough. The one advantage of that Rain from Above is that it does percentage-based damage, which is of utmost importance in the current meta, as Azurite Gear has increased stamina in patch 8.1.5, so any percentage-based health attacks actually deal devastation, so this is what Trill is trying to capitalize on when running this Rain from Above. It was almost enough to force the second ice block, and this tactic change from Trill might be important for them to find victory.
Yeah, might be able to catch Cubsy off guard. He is playing Relentless to avoid those mana rifts, and Trill says to heck with it. He's not even going to run it. Method Orange still with good pressure here. Wealthy Man does get topped off, but Cubsy's burning through his mana. He sat down for a drink, recovered a lot of it, but Seeded with the offensive dispel is just the outright pressure that Mez and Trill have. It's difficult right now for Super Frogs to really get too much momentum. Cubsy once again in cat form, looking to get away, look for a potential drink. Is he gonna be able to find it? No. Method Orange shuts it down, and that's exactly what they need to do. It has to be on the back of Sea-Doo. Drops down that Earth Elemental. That's going to deny Cubsy from getting out of combat for quite some time. Good placement, good pressure on the Wealthy Man.
Whoa,
Sea-Doo getting caught into a stun, into a Mortal Coil. Great damage from Chanimal, forcing out quite a bit, but I think Sea-Doo should be A-okay.
Managed to catch Sea-Doo in midfield and throw a ton of damage his way. Mana not looking too hot here, but Cubsy now gets swapped up and stun-locked by Trill as well. Rain from Above is available. Curious to see when Trill decides to commit this for a big push, maybe after 2 blinks if he has no way to connect. He may use this at that time. Mana's evened out here. Still anyone's fight. Dampening, though, not in the match, so unlikely that Mez will go down. Death Strike is super effective. We do see the Rain from Above. How is Wealthy Man going to avoid this? Looks like he's just going to tank it out. Trill just raining down Fell Lances. Bursting Wealthy Man. Iron Park gets traded by Cubsy. Sea-Doo gets on top of Cubsy. Wondering what he's trying to do other than just deny the drink. Mana totally even, although in that regard we would say that Method Orange are ahead. Good map selection, good execution so far, and Method Orange continue to establish their lead.
Yep. Method Orange with a significant lead right now. Sea-Doo hasn't had to sit down for a drink at all. Cubsy consistently having to run away. Mez actually under fire, taking some pressure, but still Mez and Trill without dampening, they're going to be able to heal themselves up quite a bit in this matchup. Cubsy looking to sneak away. Mez denies it. Beautifully done by Method Orange. Really playing into that win condition quite a bit more in this particular matchup as opposed to in the Grand Arena. And I do like the strategy change. I like the composition change. Method Orange switching it up, not really relying on that mana rift, and they're taxing Cubsy's mana all the same. And they're definitely having a lot more pressure on the Wealthy Man.
He is running the mana rift. Trill landing another mana rift onto Cubsy, bursting him down with the Maledict play. This is a huge all-in for Method Orange, but now they get deflected by Chanimal, who is ramping up huge. He's going to be doing huge Chaos Bolts pretty soon. Who's he going to target is the question. I'd love to see a swap to Sea-Doo again and try and catch him off guard. He's in midfield with that Ursul's Vortex. Doesn't look like they're going after Sea-Doo just yet. Chanimal's fully ramped up. He goes for the Mortal Coil. Connects the Chaos Bolt with the Flurry. They are going after Sea-Doo. He sees it coming. Gets the Astral.
Oh no!
He's 1 inch out of the anti-magic zone. Chanimal gets denied on the burst. Multiple Gliders, Maledicts, cooldown overlap. Huge cooldown overlap from Method Orange. Sea-Doo still struggling to recover. Counterspell available on both members, Wealthy and Chanimal. Sea-Doo needs to deal with that. Still has managed to recover despite it. Mana now in more favor for Sea-Doo. Cubsy needs to find a way to reset that if they want to find a kill on Mez. Deeper into dampening. Fear onto Sea-Doo. Wealthy Man with Frozen Orb dealing huge damage, but Death Strike more than enough to bounce back in the fight. It appears to me that Super Frogs only have one option, that is to kill Sea-Doo on this map in particular. So Sea-Doo needs to be aware of that and position maybe less aggressively, but at the same time, he still has to stop Cubsy from drinking, so it's a catch-22. What is he going to do? Is he going to push forward, stop the drinks, risk his own life? It's going to be a difficult task, but he has to pull it off if he wants to find victory.
In the meantime, he actually has to keep Mez alive as well. Mez under heavy fire. Chanimal free casting in this matchup. Able to do a lot of damage on that Destruction Warlock. Now Cubsy completely tapped on mana. Still securing a mana rift onto Wealthy Man. Still decent pressure here. Chanimal finds a fear onto Sea-Doo. Mez could be in some trouble. Darkness gets dropped out by Trill, but it's an insignificant darkness. Easily Super Frogs could push through it. It's not that cover of darkness honor talent. Cubsy looking for a Hibernate on the Sea-Doo. Mez getting low. Wealthy Man taking quite a bit of pressure as well, but Wealthy Man's recovered his cold snap, so he actually has 2 ice blocks available once again. And although Super Frogs is completely tapped on mana, at least they have that little bit of defense from Wealthy Man coming back up.
Trill got feared on his rain from above, and it brought him right back down to the ground. Now that Chanimal maybe has found that, he could deny the rain from above from Trill throughout and eliminate that threat, but Cubsy's totally tapped on mana. Only 2 ice blocks left, and that's basically it for defense. Cubsy needs to try and get a drink, but there's tons of pressure mounting. Method Orange are looking good. They forced the first ice block, unfortunately committing the Gliders Maledict in that push. Now that threat won't be there for Wealthy Man. Was that a cold snap ice block? No, okay, it's just the first ice block, still 1 remaining, but even still at 16% dampening, not high enough to kill the Death Knight just yet, and there's no mana really for Cubsy to make it to that point. Sea-Doo's been doing a good job babysitting Cubsy and keeping Mez alive at the same time, as not exposing his position in center field, as he is likely the main target for the Super Frogs before that 40% dampening mark, which is the magic number to kill the Death Knight and even the Demon Hunter to an extent in this particular matchup. Anti-magic zone available. That's likely to be the next defense for Mez. He needs to be ready and waiting to initiate that. Multiple Gliders Maledicts dispelled instantly by Cubsy. Cubsy sneaks away. Sea-Doo trying to get after him, but now overextended, caught a polymorph, an opportunity to take out Mez. Do they have enough damage to do it, Ven?
I don't know. 1 Chaos Bolt lands. Mez responds with the anti-magic zone. Infernal's cast out by Chanimal as well. Big pressure, big damage available for the Super Frogs. Wealthy Man on 40% health. Cubsy, no Iron Bark, no mana left, but Mez might fall first. Sea-Doo has to keep him alive. He has Spirit Link coming up in 4 seconds. Can they hold on for another 4 seconds? Earthen Shield Totem looking to deny some of the damage. Sea-Doo finds a healing wave connected on Mez. Huge heal. Mez goes to full HP instantaneously. Things are looking good for Method Orange.
Oh, that was a Spirit Link Totem, Ascendance, and a Healing Tide Totem. That was the 3-minute timers from the Restoration Shaman. So Sea-Doo will not have access to that recovery. Likely again in this fight. That might have been an overextension on his part, and I'm curious to see if the Super Frogs can punish it, but they're still on the back foot with 0 mana left in the tank. It's all on Chanimal. How much pressure can he get going? 1 Chaos Bolt connects onto Mez. They have answers. Sea-Doo is still trying to babysit Cubsy. He's got to heal Mez at the same time. Wealthy Man gets bursted. This could be the second and final ice block of the match. Iron Bark, they need to rely on it. Will it be enough defense? Chanimal trying to crack Mez. Will it be enough? Doesn't appear to be. Wealthy Man still dips low. Gliders Maledict dispelled and removed instantly. Trill gets denied on his high beam. Mez gets bursted by Chanimal as it's a race to the finish. Rain from above from Trill. That's going to be a ton of damage that Cubsy simply does not have mana to heal. Second ice block forced on 1%. Full polymorph on Sea-Doo. Trouble on both sides.
Yeah, Mez low. Tries to get behind the pillar. Fear secured onto Sea-Doo. Mez still just trying to avoid line of sight the best he can. Ray of Frost gets interrupted. Nice denial there by Mez. Mortal Coil, though, forced to trinket out as well, as Mez still just line of sighting while Sea-Doo sits on all this different crowd control. What is Mez going to do? Wealthy Man drops the Frozen Orb. Mez forced to run in. Get in the face of Chanimal, but Chanimal drops a Gladiator's Maledict. I don't know if Mez can recover.
Shadow Meld it.
Cubsy moves in cat form, trying to close out the game. Wealthy Man finally spamming out some Frost Bolts. Method Orange may have run out of time.
Sea-Doo gets locked out. Mez has nothing left, and despite them building a lead throughout the fight, they're inevitably going to get closed out by a Chaos Bolt. Super Frogs move to match point.
Oh man, this is an interesting one to watch. We see Method Orange go from a composition where it looks like they're going to figure out a way to navigate. We've seen this comp twice today. Neither time it works. Then we get to the second map and we see a little bit of lack of confidence in that composition. They go back to comfort, and it's not going to be enough to close it out.
No, I think that this idea that they had where they wanted to essentially just run Wealthy Man down, it kind of all fell together the moment that they swapped after him, and the moment that Super Frog started going after Sea-Doo, it really made them have to think twice and retreat more often. And as soon as that happens, Chanimal becomes the main target, and Chanimal, he's been holding on to his unending resolve the entire game, using it offensively here at the end to try to close out the match, and that's what it always is for Super Frog. So when they play against Method Orange, they need to just survive long enough, and then their wizard damage will be enough for them. And I liked that from above. We saw it in a previous matchup as well when they played each other, but it was a lot more effective on a small map. But still, I want to see Trill on the Windwalker. I think that's really if you're going to do a strategy where you're essentially going for the mage, you're trying to burst him down over and over and over again, bring in the Windwalker.
All right, well, Zico's asking for some change. Are we going to see a new composition out of Method Orange when we return? Because right now, they need to find an answer, or they're going to be sent home. As you can see, it is the welcome back weekend, so you can come hang out if maybe you haven't played in a little while, and maybe you'll get to play with some of these pros because a few of them are going to have a nice Sunday off. We're going to figure out who those teams are right now as we keep on moving forward. We're in the Elimination Series for North America. We're going to have this one here, then we'll move on to one more, and that's going to be the two teams that are trying to make it to land currently in Colo Squad of Never Lucky and The Move. Who do you think takes this one, though? It just seems like the Super Frogs are somewhat outclassing Method Orange. Method Orange doesn't seem to have an answer.
Yeah, I think Super Frogs is definitely looking like the team to beat right now. Method Orange, they're gonna have to come up with something here. I want to see either, I don't know actually, maybe the Windwalker Mage or Windwalker DK. I want to see a Windwalker comp.
Ben, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think I like it on the smaller map, having that extra benefit of the Mortal Wounds effect, a little bit more burst damage available for that Windwalker Monk, and I think with some of the changes to the Restoration Shaman, with the fact that Purge is a little bit lower mana cost, maybe them having that extra offense and allowing Trill and Mez a little bit more uptime to push in, and maybe they could overwhelm Wealthy Man, really deny his ability to get counter pressure in this matchup, and they could look for an all-in strategy on a small map like Dalaran Sewers. I didn't mind the Demon Hunter Death Knight that much. It just seems like they just don't have enough damage to really close out the game.
How do you feel about that, Sid? Do you think that maybe that is the strategy, trying to overwhelm Wealthy Men? We're going to see them sticking to their guns.
Doesn't matter what I feel. Method Orange are going to continue with this strategy as it is their most practiced. They want to lead with that. Samheim will remain on the bench for now, but if I'm Method Orange, what I'm taking away from this, if I end up losing this game, is that we have to prepare more than what we've got in our options, because the best teams in the world have all three archetypes. They're not relying only on the melee cleave, they're not relying only on the rogue mage, and they're not only relying on the wizard cleave. It's basically you need to come to that land with all three styles under your belt so that you have options when a situation like this occurs where potentially Method Orange don't have an answer for one composition in particular. So moving forward, obviously Method Orange are capable of that and they will have time, but right now they're just not able to compete because they're so limited.
Well, what are some of the compositions we've seen Super Frogs lose to as the mage lock? Like, what's good into that we've seen so far?
We haven't really seen much. I feel like maybe the Windwalker Death Knight Mistweaver is the closest one, but then we saw Chanimal adapt his talents and start running the Demonic Circle build to stall the game out even further. It might just be that it's a wizard war. There's some wizard cleave composition that can deal well into this, some more instant cast damage. I don't know if we've seen the Balanced Druid Elemental Shaman play out into Super Frogs' team, but they could play at the pillar for most of the fight, dish out instant cast damage. That's usually been a good way to deal with Destruction Warlocks in the past, is to just bring in instant cast ranged classes and try and avoid Chaos Bolts. That could be strategically an option, but Method Orange obviously, I don't believe they have those classes. Rogue Mage as well could do well into what Super Frogs are playing. I mean, we didn't see the Super Frogs play this into Mew Mew Kitty Cats. and it's so dominant into Method Orange. So yeah, entirely possible that Rogue Mage is a solid answer, but Method Orange don't really have that under their belt either. Maybe that's something that they should look to add. Trill picks up Rogue, Sam picks up Mage. They try and play Rogue Mage and get that prepared for LAN. Maybe there's not enough time to do so, but the best teams in the world have the most amount of options and the most amount of practice on all those options, period.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much the theme of this season. You need to hit all of those boxes. You need to hit all of those archetypes. And as of right now, Method Orange looks relatively flat in the current meta. They need to find ways to implement Sam IM. The fact that they attempted that Shadow Priest composition, it's a good omen. They know what they need to be working on. It doesn't seem like they have those cards ready, though, now against the Super Frogs. Keep in mind, as Sid did already note, Super Frogs were taken out by the Mew Mew Kitty Cats. This is a team, too, that's had somewhat limited compositions in the past, but they had the right answer. You want to be able to look at a team like that just had the right answer and try to use it in a situation like this. But Method Orange goes back to comfort. We're going to have to see if it will be enough to at least extend this series, because Super Frogs on match point looking to send Method Orange home, and this is an early time for them to bow out. So I wonder really how many points they will have at the end of this. Their third place does not even feel safe for the entire year right now.
They would get what, 6th if they...
So 40 points.
Yeah,
they go to
get
400.
40 points. They would go to 400.
Never Lucky could get 120, so they can go to 340. They'd still be in third. So there's no way for Never Lucky to pass them, even if Never Lucky wins.
I'm not saying for. I'm saying for the entire year.
Entire year.
The entire year really is what you need to be thinking about in a big way for a lot of these teams that have already secured the land, especially in a matchup like this, right? If Method Orange wins this series, think about what that actually does for their year, for the entire year. Super Frogs, a team that already has 540 points that you want to be catching up with at all costs.
Think about it. We could be on cup number 6 of the second season going, imagine if they had just gotten 3rd or 4th. All they needed was 20 points in cup 6 of the first season, right? This is why it's important.
Imagine if Method Orange got top 8 week number 1, right? Like, already that's something that they need to be thinking about. They are far behind because of that, and some of these other teams have only powered up. Like, when you look at teams like Never Lucky, teams like The Move in particular too, I think they've had... Never Lucky's been consistent throughout the year. The Move has had an upwards trajectory for sure. And then you have teams like Mew Mew Kitty Cats that have also started to heat up. They're the team right now that you're looking at. You're assuming that they're going to get that 4th place spot. These are 3 teams that could overtake Method Orange for 3rd place in the year if they keep up these trajectories, and if Method Orange stays flat. Method Orange wants to get this reverse sweep. They want to put Super Frogs in their place, start setting that 1st place team behind, and start getting their own momentum rolling.
Curious to see how Cubsy utilizes the map here on Dalaran Sewers. With this upper platform level, you can jump down the side in the center, and pets can't follow you in a straight line. So the ghoul that Mez normally has chasing Cubsy will have to walk all the way around, down a staircase, and all the way back into center, whereas Cubsy can just go right off the side, and that might give him enough time to drop combat, get into stealth, and drink more often, which is why we saw Hook Point, which is the best map for Method Orange, which they didn't win. So here on Dalaran Sewers, still going to be difficult. Seems like neither team is really interested in making an aggressive push early on. This benefits the Super Frogs. It has to.
I don't really know, to be honest with you. We've seen Method Orange make all-in pushes onto Chanimal, and I think if Sea-Doo has a full mana bar at 30, 40, 50% dampening, then they can take down Chanimal. I mean, Trill, Mez are going to have a lot of uptime. They have a lot of defensive cooldowns that they can rotate through in this particular matchup. And my major curiosity is, I guess both teams feel like they have an advantage if the game goes on late enough, but I feel like for Super Frogs, they have to kind of slowly work through a lot of those defensives Method Orange has.
I'm wondering what they're thinking, because, I mean, the Soul Leech healing and the Death Strike healing from Mez is more potent before dampening. Why would you not want to fight before dampening, try and run Cubsy out of mana, and then make a push in dampening? I'm not following what advantage that you get as Method Orange by trying to stall in this position, which is why I think the Super Frogs are like, all right, we're chilling. We're just going to wait then, because if we have full mana and dampening, we win. Maybe they're just going to chase them down. They try and get on top of Method Orange. They reposition. They catch Trill out in the open. Chaos Bolt, though, gets grounding totemed. Good denial from Sea-Doo. Mez is trying to retreat, gets feared into center field. A little bit unfortunate. Oh, Chaos Bolt is going to connect. I don't think it's going to be too pivotal in here in this moment in time. Frozen Orb committed. Maybe now we see Method Orange mount up and go in after the Frozen Orb. That could be an opening to just get some damage for free, but at this point, reluctant. I mean, the only option is that Sea-Doo doesn't run out of mana either, and maybe if Sea-Doo has full mana in Dampening and can Purge, that's the only thing that makes sense for them to do what they're doing.
I think that's exactly what they want to do. Eventually, Chanimal won't be able to escape. Trill, Mez, they'll be able to chase him down. And I don't know, you really can't blame Method Orange in the situation. They're trying to play the map to what they feel is their advantage. Like we kind of talked about, Method Orange, they want to start putting as many points on the board as possible. Both these teams have already qualified to the Spring Finals, but for Method Orange, if they can knock down the #1 point earning team, that just allows them, knock them out of the tournament, that just allows them to slowly start getting back into a favorable position where in season #2, they might be able to actually pass Super Frogs and be that #1 point earning spot, so they don't have to win a LAN tournament to secure their spot to BlizzCon.
Yeah, the overall point standings could get flipped here if the Super Frogs are eliminated early on, although it's looking unlikely at this point. If the Super Frogs can manage to pull off this tournament, though, they'll significantly be in the lead and even more likely to qualify on points if they don't have a top performance at LAN, but I do expect them to have that as well. Mez gets caught. Earthen Wall Totem from Sea-Doo appears to be enough to deny the damage to find a kill. Wealthy Man gets gripped into the pillar, so Method Orange finally starting to get some momentum rolling here, but Wealthy Man escapes to safety. Channel catches a couple Chaos Bolts. Sea-Doo denies the second. It does appear to be that Method Orange are going to start attacking, but they've overextended while Sea-Doo's in crowd control. Could be devastating. Mez gets Mortal Coiled. Fortunately, still in line of sight. Wealthy Man goes for a Polymorph, gets denied by Sea-Doo. Goes for a Polymorph again, lands it. Reverse magic. Trill breaks up the chain. Mez makes the trade regardless with that anti-magic shield. So far, the Super Frogs, they're in a good position even without dampening. Mez realizing this, pulls back to the boxes, and I would say that Method Orange are looking shaky here on match point.
Well, Trill used the Metamorphosis, so that gives me the impression that Method Orange wants to try to get aggressive. Trill once again using the rain from above, getting some damage rolling onto Wealthy Man. And my major question is, who are they going to be going after? We saw on Hook Point, Wealthy Man was the main target of choice for them. Well, the Wealthy Man did end up having an ice block at the end of the game. Mez in the open for way too long. Spirit Link Totem traded out by Sea-Doo. Method Orange is falling apart.
I mean, this is just devastating. They're blowing through cooldowns so fast. Everything, basically, at this point, before dampening has even started, which is atypical with a Death Knight in the match. This is not what you expect to see. Method Orange are really hoping that they can stall for a Purge assault really later into the game, I'm guessing, but they're not even making it to dampening. They're just getting, oh, nice pre-tremor by Sea-Doo, starting to put things back together, breaking up the crowd control. There is dampening. That is what Method Orange have been waiting for, but what percent? How much experience do they have in this matchup? Because you have to be precise with the amount of dampening that you go for that all in. Because as soon as you purge and spend your mana, you're not getting it back. So they need to know exactly what percentage of dampening calculated out for a push to overwhelm them. They need to know what target. Is it the mage with 2 ice blocks? I don't think that it is. Maybe it's Cubsy, as he's running Feral Affinity. Could be an option. You see pressure on 2 members here. Cubsy's starting to struggle a bit, falling behind on mana. Sea-Doo tossing in a couple of purges already, though, early on. I do think Cubsy may be the target. We saw Trill tossing Fell Lances at Cubsy, softening him up a bit, maybe for a Death Grip into a stun afterwards. That could be an option for Method Orange. Sea-Doo is sitting down for a drink. He's getting mana back. Frozen Orb 1 second too late. They're in a good spot, at least, despite having blown through a lot of cooldowns, effectively throwing them away for free. If Method Orange can at least just clean it up, this strategy may work for them.
Definitely could, but this is how game number 2 looked as well, where it seemed like Method Orange, they had a massive lead in terms of pressure, in terms of damage, in terms of mana, but at the end of the day, Mez in late dampening, he's just such a vulnerable target. So for Super Frogs, they just have to hold on for dear life until 40% dampening, or roughly that mark, and that's when they can really start pressuring down Mez. And if he can't stay in the open, if he can't have maximum uptime on Wealthy Man, eventually Cubsy does get a chance to recover. But so far, things are looking really good for Method Orange. Wealthy Man does have both of his ice blocks, but if you look at Cubsy's mana, it's not doing well. Once again, Rain from Above going to be used by Trill as he's looking to connect those Fell Lances onto Wealthy Man. This could be the first ice block. Polymorph spam on that. His Chanimal going to be able to deny any of that damage with Fear. Doesn't look like it. Chaos Bolt going to be landing. Wealthy Man trying to drag Trill and Mez out of line of sight, but Sea-Doo, he's not falling for it. He easily chases and reconnects with his team to back them up.
All right, let's see if they can pull it off. They've got a significant mana lead, and dampening is ramping up, and they've shown momentum. And That cooldown blunder that they had earlier is 20 seconds away from basically not mattering anymore. Although in this 20-second window, maybe Super Frogs just pin out a kill and close out the series. Mez ducks around the corner with Sea-Doo, catches a couple heals, then charges out. I'm curious what Mez is interested in going after. It appears that Trill wants to go after Wealthy Man, but Mez was attacking Chanimal. They grip Wealthy Man into the pillar. He just walks it off. He wasn't even snared. He's able to easily escape. They go for a Gladiator's Maledict on that? The Method Orange are so sloppy in this position. Maybe ultimately it won't matter if Cubsy can't regenerate his mana, but moving forward for the rest of the series, they can't afford to play like this on a large map.
Cubsy still trying to create some space as he leaps away from Mez's Ghoul. Looking to get out of combat, getting cat form, regenerate some mana, but Wealthy Man is just getting low.
Trill's up in the air.
To deny, but Trill with a lot of damage. So Spell Lance is really ripping in. Could be the first ice block, but no. Cubsy denies with the with the Iron Bark. Anti-Magic Zone gets dropped out by Mez to avoid some damage. Method Orange still doing a great job. Sea-Doo's mana's looking good. Wealthy Man not been able to get out too much counter pressure in this situation. Chanimal's trying to set his team up. Lands one Chaos Bolt on Trill. Lands a second. Sea-Doo forced to trade up the Spearling Totem to keep his team alive.
All right, Wealthy Man dips low. Still has 2 ice. Cubsy, is he getting mana? He gets interrupted on Frost. He has to stop the drink to heal, but he doesn't have mana to heal. Devastating moment for the Super Frogs. First ice block is forced. Method Orange have all the momentum at this point. Still with Darkness, Anti-Magic Shield to exchange for a big push. If they can just stay on target, Method Orange need to go all out. This is where you have to calculate. Is 23% dampening enough to commit the rest of Sea-Doo's already dwindling mana? The Temporal Shield saves the day for now. Cubsy is still rotting down. Sea-Doo gets feared up, no tremor. Let's see if Wealthy Man can get in there for a Polymorph. Doesn't look like it. Fell Lances are crushing Wealthy Man. Too much damage. Method Orange put a point on the board, but moving into bigger zones like Tovaron, I don't think they can afford the mistakes that they made here.
It didn't, yeah, exactly. I think you say it pretty well. When you do look at that game, it doesn't even seem like they are going to be able to take it with everything working in their favor, Zico.
Yeah, it's just, the map was really, really nice for them here, but like you guys already mentioned, we're gonna be heading to a much larger map here. They managed to shut down Cubsy's drinks. They managed to get him out of mana and actually keep him out of mana. And then, of course, they managed to actually turn up the heat for Wealthy Man here. Sea-Doo doing a good job as well with the Earth Elemental. You can see it pounding away there on Cubsy at the back of the screen. And, of course, Wealthy Man already having to use his first ice block at this point. It really doesn't matter much that he has a second one because, you know, Cubsy has no mana. The hypothermia is going to prevent him from using another ice block here. And it's all about counter pressure. Counter pressure is really the only thing that's going to be able to keep Wealthy Man alive here. Sea-Doo with a nice grounding totem is going to deflect all of that counter pressure that Chanimal is trying to build up. And then, of course, Trill is actually using his Rain from Above there to avoid that fear on Sea-Doo, just in case, to make sure that he gets that uptime that he needs. And he manages to seal the deal with those Fell Lances right there. And how repeatable is it? I'm not sold. I mean, even on hook point, they lost this matchup, so it's definitely a tough spot to be in if you're Method Orange. But I think that, you know, at least getting 1 point on the board is it's the beginning for them to kind of bring it back. But most likely we're going to see Ashamins or Tolveron locked in now, and I want to know, what are they going to blind pick? Are they going to blind pick the same thing? Is Sea-Doo going to go over to his Druid, maybe his Monk? Are they going to be bringing Trill and the Windwalker? I'm not sure what they are going to do, but it's all in Super Frog's favor now.
Yeah, I think the main question, that is important, right? Super Frogs are going to be able to set up the game the best that they can to be able to take down the entire series. Do we see this composition again for Method Orange, in your opinion, Ben?
No. I think if it goes to Tolveron, I just think this matchup is way too bad for them. Cubsy is not going to have the same problem, but I don't know. Maybe we do see the same thing because I don't really know what Method Orange can run. If they go for the Shadow Priest Death Knight, I think it's an easy roguelock Druid for Super Frogs to lock in. I just feel like at this point it's check for Method Orange. Like, Super Frogs is just one easy move away from closing out the series. Method Orange has to find some sort of curveball, some sort of strategy that they can try to pull off because things are not looking good.
How do you feel about this one, Super Tees? What do you think that they are going to use? Obviously, some problems with going for the Shadow Priest composition here on Tolveron. Do you think that there's anything else that could work?
I think I think they just play the same thing. The fact that they didn't even try the Shadow Priest, and maybe not. Maybe on the big map they say they have to run the Shadow Priest. Maybe they can use Death Grip, pull a target into the pillar, purge it down, do a similar strategy. It's basically those two options. I don't think we'll see a Windwalker Death Knight from Method Orange if we didn't already see it on the smallest maps in the pool. So I'm expecting either more of the same or potentially Sam I Am pulled in. Although their defensive cooldown management was completely haphazard in that game. They made good pushes and had better pressure than we've seen so far in the series. So if they can just clean up what they want to do defensively, because I don't even blame them necessarily for using defensive cooldowns to push. Sometimes you have to. You're facing a Destruction Warlock and then you overreact too late, but they need to clean up which ones they're using so they can spend more time actually attacking. If they can do that, then potentially this composition could work for Method Orange, but it's certainly in the Super Frogs' hands.
Okay. Method Orange gonna feel like they need to stick to comfort. This is probably a pretty good feeling for Super Frogs. Like, they set up the map to make this comfort pick a little bit less comfortable, and now they can pick the composition as well. And I think it's a pretty clear line here with what they lock in, Zico.
Yeah, I mean, they have a couple of options. We've seen them lock in Shadow Priest Mage as well, but honestly, I would go for the Mage Lock Druid. You already won on Hook Point. Hook Point is way worse for you than 12-run Arena is going to be. The main reason why they lost on Dalaran is going to be because they couldn't actually get those drinks off. Here, you have plenty of space to get those drinks off, and yeah, they're going to lock it in. It's a pretty easy choice to make.
Yep. How does Method Orange get a win, though? We know how difficult it is. We've talked about win conditions. We've watched this play out. How does Method Orange find victory here?
Well, this is a difficult situation because they won the last game because Cubsy had no mana whatsoever. And the reason he had no mana whatsoever is it's easy for Method Orange to push across the map, deny his drinks, keeping him combat with the ghoul. But on these larger maps, Cubsy can much easier escape, cross the map, get to a new pillar, try to get out of combat and drink. And like I talked about, that's when Chanimal and Wealthy Man, they set up this gauntlet of snares and fears and polymorphs that Method Orange has to push through in order to get to Cubsy. So I think for Method Orange to win this game, they either need to wait until crazy amounts of dampening, which can easily backfire for an all-in push, or they need to try to find a way to keep Cubsy in combat to deny the drinks. Because I think if Cubsy is able to drink, I don't see Super Frogs losing this.
You look at somebody like Mez and you say, okay, deep and dampening Super Tees, he's going to be a pretty juicy kill target as well.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is. I mean, the main goal here is if Trill tries to do the mana rift strategy, he's going to overextend and he's going to get pinned out of the match with crowd control. Mez will then try and chase and pursue with Trill, and he'll get blasted. Before dampening, he'll be able to recover through with Death Strike and some support from Sidu, but then deeper into dampening, he won't be able to recover. And if Sidu overextends in the midfield, we've seen him as a target as well already on Hook Point. On Tolvaron, he won't have a pillar always nearby if he's overextending with his team. Likely, though, we will see Method Orange play the stall tactic at the start of the game where they just want to avoid the fights and try and get as much mana as possible in moving into dampening. So I'm wondering how the Super Frogs are going to deal with that, if they're just going to allow it to happen, or if they're going to try and run on top of Method Orange in the earlier stages of the fight, as both teams, I believe, are relying on dampening as a win condition. The Destruction Warlock team is relying on reducing the healing of Death Strike, and then Method Orange are reducing the healing of the heal over time effects from the Druid. And both teams want as much mana as possible in dampening, so it does benefit both sides to some degree to try and avoid the fight as long as they can.
All right, yeah, looking at this one, you start to think about what the rest of the day looks like, and that's kind of been where my head's been throughout the entirety of this tournament, right? You get to cup number 6. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. We've done already 5 of these cups, and the 6th one's determining who's going to make it for the first tournament that's going to be played on LAN. And in both regions, it was for one spot. In EU, we finally got to see who those top 4 teams are going to be. In NA, we're trying to figure this out right now. Super Frogs and Method Orange have already secured their spots. Now going head-to-head, only one of them going to stay in the lower side of the bracket. The next matchup, particularly exciting. It's going to take a 3-horse race down to a 2-horse race when we see Never Lucky go up against the move right after this. Potentially this game, because Super Frogs could ensure that they're the team that gets to play gatekeeper in the lower bracket.
Yeah, and that's what it's starting to look like. If Super Frogs win this game here where they have the advantage, we could see Never Lucky versus Super Frogs, or the move versus Super Frogs, which is going to be very, very hard. Or we could see a repeat of the boys versus the Super Frogs as well. So So, a lot of tough teams here, depending on who loses later on in the tournament. But right now, I think that whoever is in the lower bracket is, I want to say Mew Mew Kitty Cats are looking about as qualified as you can be with everyone else still in the tournament. They have successfully avoided the shark tank, so to speak, where you have all of these really big name teams battling it out for that seeding.
Yeah, I mean, the Mew Mew Kitty Cats have the dream scenario right now. They just have some of their opponents who are going to knock each other out, and then probably the team that they sent down to the lower bracket clean up the other opponent. Mew Mew Kitty Cats are just waiting for their next game. But first, Super Frogs or Method Orange, who's going to take Tolveron Arena?
Multi-Man gets gripped into the fight early on as Method Orange try to punish that overextension. Multi-Man able to escape to center field with a blink. Chanimal on left side. Multi-Man are actually both of them moving to the right side. I would like to see Chanimal and Multi-Man split up, get that triangle going, try and pin down Method Orange. Method Orange realize they're getting closed in on. They're trying to cross center field, reposition. Cubsy catches Sea-Doo while they cross the map. Chaos Bolt connects, and Sea-Doo is likely to be the target, at least before dampening. Whenever the enemy team of Method Orange crosses into center field, Super Frogs will look to punish. Not too many cooldowns forced on that first crossing. Channel repositioning the Demonic Gateway, and that is so that when his teammate gets death gripped in, he can then use the Demonic Gateway to escape to safety. So good presence of mind on Chanimal's part, making sure that their defense is solid, even though Method Orange are focused so heavily on stalling. Method Orange again trying to cross center field. Cubsy looking to intercept with Entangling Roots. Not able to get any sort of interception there. Sea-Doo's grounding totem denying it, but Cubsy does land a stun on Mez. Blizzard holds Mez in position. Nope, now able to sneak away out of line of sight. Catch a quick death strike off of the Fell Hunter. Potentially Chanimal should not be running with the Fell Hunter in the fight so that Mez does not have a death strike target, but at the same time they want to make sure that they can keep the team in combat and deny any sort of drinks, although unlikely that a drink is necessary unless Chaos Bolts are connecting. Cubsy on this map will be repositioning, drinking, and regenerating mana and looking for a late game advantage through that regard. Cubsy now sneaking across the map, looking for a stun, waiting to see if Method Orange decide to cross center field again. Chanimal, Multi-Man, both chains of iced. Very difficult for them to get in anywhere at this point. They're just waddling their way over, trying to get in line of sight. They've got them pinned, so they have to make a decision. Are they going to cross center field again, or are they going to stay at this pillar? Multi-Man, Chanimal closing in, slowly but surely. Cubsy moves in, gets a stun on Sea-Doo. He is likely to be the target, but in Ghost Wolf, able to heal back up quite effectively. Now Wealthy-Man overextended, has Temporal Shield rolling, soaking up all the damage, healing himself back to full. Both teams trading efficiently before dampening. No real lead establishing itself just yet.
Yep, Cubsy's mana is the main thing I'm going to be looking at in this matchup. In the last game, when Cubsy was out of mana, that's when Method Orange could start finding large amounts of pressure. And it seemed like on Dalaran and Sewer, what Method Orange's main game plan was waiting till dampening and then making an offensive push. With the healing reduction, that's when they could force Cubsy to stay in combat, stay in range, get a lot of damage onto Wealthy Man. And that might be exactly what Method Orange is looking to do again. Just pick their moment at 5, 10% dampening. That's when they could really move forward and start getting some damage rolling.
All right, let's see if they can get it done. Method Orange repositioned now at center pillar. Chanimal, Wealthy Man trying to get that triangle. Cubsy constantly looking for stealth as well to get stuns for the team. Chanimal, this is better positioning. Wealthy Man far right side, Chanimal far right, left side. They get closed in and get crowd control, reverse magic. No, it actually just broke to damage. Unfortunate for the team of Super Frogs. Maybe they could have built something off the back of that crowd control, but I like this positioning a lot better. At least one wizard can cast freely at Method Orange. Blizzard Frozen Orb pinning him down. They're trying to escape. Chanimal overextends a bit to try and get some damage out towards the opposing team. How much can he get done here while Method Orange strictly focus on avoiding the fight as long as possible? The main reason for this is that Sea-Doo will have mana to purge later in the fight, but he gets clotheslined. Huge damage, follows that up with a Gladiator's Maledict Assault. Grounding Totem removed, another Gladiator's Maledict gets dispelled. Is there a third? Doesn't look like it. They switch their attention to Mez instead.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Mez, can he recover? It's caught in middle field right now. Wealthy Man looking to deny a lot of damage with the Temporal Shield. So as these Icy Veins, Super Frogs, they've been holding on to a lot of their offensive cooldowns, and I think that's probably the best thing that they can do in this particular situation. When Method Orange does decide to get aggressive, that's when Chanimal and Wealthy Man can kind of slap them away with the Icy Veins, as well as the Infernals and the Dark Soul. Those very powerful offensive cooldowns, and that's when Method Orange is forced to run away. Cubsy can sit down for a drink, so I think patience with their major offense is something Super Frogs definitely needs to consider in this matchup, but it looks like Chanimal, he's going to be deciding to use his Infernals at this particular point in the match to try to get some damage rolling.
All right, Sea-Doo trades Astral Shift on that swap. Now maybe with Icy Veins, they could get a kill on Sea-Doo. They need to be ready for that. That's definitely an option for the Super Frogs as we edge closer to dampening. Has now entered the battle. Cubsy's mana significantly lower at this point. The lead establishing itself for Method Orange. Their strategy appears to be working so far, but Super Frogs could turn this game on its head if Sea-Doo even makes one mistake.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Sea-Doo can get done as Sea-Doo charges forward, caught into a polymorph. Reverse magic going to be used by Trill to free him up. That allows Sea-Doo to stay on top of Cubsy. And Method Orange, they're impressing me. They're playing the strategy a lot better. Cubsy hasn't been able to sneak away and get the drinks we've seen in the past. Although now Mez caught in center field. An Immortal Coil, is there any damage to follow it up? What is Mez going to do? Sea-Doo still getting caught in midfield with the fear, now into a full polymorph. Cubsy still trying to sneak away, but Mez with excellent pet control keeps him in combat and denies him from drinking.
Good pet control so far. Good stall tactics by Method Orange here as they look desperately to advance to a Game 5, as a lot of points are on the table potentially for Method Orange to qualify later in the year. So not surprising to see them do everything in their power to stay alive in this tournament. This composition has been one that they have not been able to find an answer to for quite some time in this first spring season. So perhaps finally they have an option here and they're trying to take full advantage of it. But Sea-Doo caught in crowd control. Mez gets bursted. Has cooldowns to trade, is holding on to them. Death Strike going to be effective. That magic 40% marker not there just yet, and Mez is likely to recover, although tapped on Runic Power. Mortal Coiled away. Anti-Magic Shield will be exchanged for that attack. Was not the Icy Veins, was not the Infernals. Mez still continues to get hammered, and this is the composition advantage that we expected from the Super Frogs. So Sea-Doo's team, they went for an all-in at around 20 or 23% dampening. This is likely to be the case again here in game number 4, but if they cannot find a kill in that window, I do see Mez falling.
I could easily see Mez falling as well. With that Death Strike healing reduction, Super Frogs can definitely capitalize on that. Cubsy was able to recover some mana. Once again, Rain from Above going to be used by Trill, just looking to maximize his damage in this matchup onto Wealthy Man. So you can see him using those Fell Lances, actually pressuring down Cubsy a little bit, but I think that's just good to force out a little bit of mana from Cubsy. If you get Cubsy low, then you can force him to put full effects on him. Mez, an Immortal Coil, though, is taken down, and that is the main problem with the setup. Super Frogs, they're going to be moving forward. Method Orange knocked out of the tournament, and that's really the problem. Losing that blind pick against a team like the Super Frogs just puts you so far behind.
What a cute way to end that series. Super Frogs going to be able to get the work done. Method Orange, they didn't really have many answers there, and they managed to steal one game, and with how that series looked, I'm relatively surprised that they even took one.
Yeah, I mean, Super Frogs definitely played its composition really, really well, but what it comes down to is whenever Cubsy repositions, that's when Method Orange need to overextend, and whenever they overextend, that allows Chanimal to get that pressure out with the Chaos Bolts, and allows Wealthy Man and Chanimal as well to get that crowd control out. And you can see here, it's the Veins, the Infernals are about to land as well. Actually, the Infernals are just about to come up with cooldown, so it's just the Icy Veins there from Wealthy Man, and it's just Cubsy's positioning. When you have such a large map, you move away, the whole team has to chase you. When that happens, that's when the crowd control comes out, that's when the counter pressure comes out, and then that's when you have to trade your cooldowns. Eventually you run out and lose.
Mez had stuff too.
Yeah, he had the anti-magic zone, a little bit of denial, but I guess maybe he could have picked his moment a little bit better because like we kind of talked about, it was the Dark Soul, it was the Icy Veins, a lot of offense committed there by the Super Frogs, but Mez caught in the Mortal Coil, wasn't able to get out his anti-magic zone and ultimately fell because of it.
Let's take a look at who still is in this tournament, because the next matchup is about the best one that we could hope for, and it gets just better and better if you're the Mew Mew Kitty Cats. I think if you're the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, you're like, okay, we want the Super Frogs to win. We want the Super Frogs to keep on trucking. If you are looking at any of the top teams right now, if you're the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, like if you're looking at the top 3 teams, you want to see the Super Frogs do the best because you want to see them be the sponge for points so you can actually leap over and take teams like Method Orange and the boys down in the standings.